Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? I'm from a very well-lit room where you guys are a little bit. You're a little bit better now. Russ, you were in the dark before.
I was in the dark a minute ago. Now it's a little more illuminated.
You have a little more light, Mike. That'd be good. If not,
Yeah.
anyway,
I'm at my maximum capacity, apparently.
that's fine. Actually, it doesn't look terrible.
Mike is at 5 lumens for people watching at home.
Yes.
What's that? Is that better?
A little bit. I get all of my light. From upstairs. Upstairs I have a series of mirrors that reflect the light all the way down here to light up the room. It's pretty good.
That's science. Yes.
Science at your best. So USA, they finished number 1 in their bracket. Is that true? In this in the World Cup, World Championships. I don't know. I'm just saying that's pretty good considering they lost to Germany in the first game.
Yeah, I see Kevin Hayes is scoring. I mean, it's nice that he's scoring now.
Yeah. All right, let's get right to it. We're going to do a lot.
God knows he couldn't do it during the regular season.
No goals in the playoffs. Now he's scoring.
Russ, didn't you want to bring up something quickly? Or?
I did. Eck, I don't know if you saw, but there's a brewing controversy in Nashville for anthem singing.
Oh boy.
Because Nashville has a regular anthem singer, and I have to pull up his name. Mike, do you know his name of him?
I don't.
I'll get it. And so while they have a regular anthem singer, they have gone with Carrie Underwood, as we know.
Yes, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Lady Antebellum. I forget who else.
Luke Bryan.
Luke Bryan. And Vince Gill, was he the other one?
Vince Gill and his daughters, yep.
Okay.
Vince Gill and the Gillettes.
And now this is apparently irked their regular anthem singer, which I don't blame them because, I
agree.
The funny thing is that I'm not saying Nashville's doing anything wrong as far as an organization, but you do have to understand these are humans involved, and they take a lot of pride in this job, even though we all know it's a part-time job, right? It's funny because just because you're a team's anthem singer doesn't mean they pay you enough that you could quit your job. They don't.
No, and it's interesting because it's a part-time job, but it's also a lot of commitment. And much as everyone says, oh, it's great to sing national anthem every night. We've talked to Lauren Hart many times about it. I mean, it's like she has to her whole life, for 9 months a year revolves around the fact that she's got to be in the arena for all those games. So she's a musician herself, so she can't tour very much. She's got to put things away. Yeah, it is. I mean, and if you do it all year long and then you're kind of left out when the moment gets exciting like this, I can understand you being completely upset about it.
It's Dennis K. Morgan, and the problem is that while Nashville's in the playoffs and there's so much press about everything that's going on there, he is literally getting asked about that everywhere he goes.
Right, of course he is, because people don't.
I was just surprised how candid he was, Russ, about being irked. I mean, you would just be political answer would be, well, yeah, I mean, I'd love to be out there, but when you have somebody like Carrie Underwood or somebody like Vince Gill, no. You want to be out there, especially when they're on national television, and most of the time they cut to commercial, but sometimes they actually will show the anthems, and that is a big thing. So anyway,
imagine now if they go to Charlie Daniels, how mad he'd get.
Yeah.
if he went to Charlie Daniels, he would have quit, Ross. Come on.
It's tough because this town is all about music, right? So it's tough to have this. I mean, they probably really need to have he sings the national anthem all the time. They would probably be well served by getting different people all the time. Not against him, but this is the kind of place that shouldn't have an
a music city. Yeah, I guess.
Because this is a place that has. I mean, they could have some people do it more often than not, but this is a place where you can always find some great musicians to do it. I mean, they could jump into
the hockey tradition, and I guess do we want the hockey to turn Broadway? Because essentially the Rangers at times use Broadway singers instead of John Amarante. But Amarante's 82 years old. I get why he's getting phased out.
Yeah.
But this guy's not 82 years old, and generally teams go with the person that has been doing it for the longest time that the fans like.
Right.
It's not they're gonna like the recording artist. Don't get me wrong.
Well, Russ, the one it's funny because the Maple Leafs this year hired a 15-year-old with an incredible voice named Martina Ortiz Louise, and she's she's fantastic, but she's 15, and I'm thinking if she's if they keep, she could be there for 30 years, right. She would only be 45. like when they fire her or when she moves on to something else. So it's like, if you better like her because she's going to be around for a while.
See, that was the problem for poor Kate Smith. She got into it so late in the game.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part. I think that what you have to realize, like Nashville, I know David Poyle does actually model himself after the Flyers. He's told me this. He said flat out, because he grew up, Bud Poyle, his dad, was a GM of the Flyers. He grew up around the Flyers organization.
Right.
So I think the idea of having special people sing the national anthem is something that's in his blood. Like, I think that's part of what you get, like the Kate Smith thing and everything. He lived through that. He was a kid when that was happening. He was here.
Right.
You know,
well, and this is not a comment on my patriotism or anything, but my favorite anthem singer in the entire NHL is Doug Allen, the Sabres anthem singer, because he has to be the quickest anthem singer of them all. It's good and it's quick, instead of this long drawn out, like, just because you can hold the note for a minute doesn't mean we want to hear it for a minute. Get the anthems done. Yeah. Let's pay our respects and let's watch them hockey.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, maybe they'll give him a chance somewhere down the line here in one of these games, but it's tough. I don't blame the Predators for doing what they're doing. Also, because part of what's happening right now, and people don't even realize, like, this. And I've been as you guys know, I've been part of the Predators forever. This is a team that I've been close to. I was there when they were trying to sell tickets to keep Jim Balsillie from buying the team. I spent a whole 12-hour shift next to Vernon Fiddler on the phone as we talked to people.
I mean, I heard you were going to open up a Hush Puppy stand, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah, you know me. They didn't want Drink a Toast down there. So, yeah. So I have been completely a part of this, and I know that part of what's happening right now, and it's fascinating to watch from my perspective, is Nashville is becoming cool.
Right.
Like, I'm watching it, like, and I've seen, like, for years where I used to get on here and other shows and like that and talk about that, and we're like, oh, people talk about Nashville like they talk about Arizona now. I hear that a lot. It's not a hockey city. It's the point of having, it's a country music town. Why would they, But Nashville now has become, like, how many times have you heard people say, all the reporters hope it happmes in Nashville because it's a great, place to go.
True. Now they are saying that. When I'm trying to look up the year the draft was there, was that like 2004?
They're saying that because they want to go to Tootsie's. That's why.
Yeah, it's funny, and there's a lot of places like that. Tootsie's is the worst place to go, by the way, because there's so many places like that right along that strip, right? And it's the All-Star game last year really, I thought was like a tipping point in a lot of ways, because people were kind of blown away. Some of the reporters were blown away by the scene that hadn't been there before. So it's fun to watch it become cool. These like singers and singing groups, stuff like that, they add to the coolness of it for sure. They add to all part of it. So I think that it's hard for Nashville not to do that right now, because there's when you can have Carrie Underwood do it, you're going to have Carrie Underwood do it. It's like, that's, if you're going to have Vince Gill now has sung anthems for them before. This guy that they have as a regular, it doesn't do every single anthem, like they during the regular season, they have other people sing. So
actually it was 2003. I couldn't remember if it was 03 or 04. That was in Nashville. And the thing that I took away from there was, because I had never been there, I thought it is a cool place. We had a good time. That it was largely undiscovered. I did feel that way. And their fans, like, they made cool signs. Like, I bonded with their fans. I thought their fans were
really
awesome.
Easy to bond with, because they're so great. I mean, yeah. And I know the early on thing was that they didn't know the game very well. And that was true. And you went down there and you would see that they went, having been in a place where everybody knew everything and every possible rule, but that's gone now. I mean,
they thought Hugh Jessamine was a good pick for the Rangers. That's how much they didn't know.
They know the game now, because and they know it, and a lot of that has to do with Pete Weber, we've had on the show a lot. It really basically spent 10 years educating these guys about the game, about how it works, and that's like Philadelphia learned the game from Gene Hart. They've always said the play-by-play announcers are so important for that kind of stuff. So yeah. Anyway, that's where it's at right now. We'll talk more about that, but let's get going. Today is May 16th, Hockey World 2017. I'm
Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I am Eklund, and I am always right. So can we talk about this for a second? Because I wasn't on the show yesterday. You guys did the show, and I really appreciate it. You helped step up, because I was out for various reasons. But the thing that I want to talk about is this series between the Penguins and the Senators, because I think I nailed this one, as to what's happening. I really felt like that what I said was going to happen, so much to the point that after last night, Guy Boucher was asked, was it tough to watch because it was boring? The game was boring. And I said this would be a boring series. I said these will be boring games. And the Penguins will not know how to play against the Senators. And it'll take them a while to adjust. And if the Senators can get out to a jump on them, anything can happen. Eventually the Penguins will figure it out. Now, whether or not they have figured it out yet or not is still up for debate. And now that it's going back to Ottawa,
I think they're this close. I do.
They are that close. But now Boucher gets the advantage of being able to match. So the thing is, he's been able to do that without being able to match. They've been able to keep them to really 2 goals in 2 games.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The chances were insane yesterday. The chances, I don't have numbers right now to back me up, but the quality chances that they were getting yesterday, they were close to breaking through. Like, not only did you know that they were going to win that game, but now you feel like even someone like Kessel and Malkin will start breaking through every game.
If they can stop arguing with each other.
Yes.
I mean, this is the one thing. The Ottawa Senators are the closest thing that I've seen to the 1993 Montreal Canadiens, because they're 6-2 in 8 overtime games. They're winning everything in overtime. Right now, I think their goal differential is like even or maybe 1, or it may be even in the negative. So what that tells you is that, I mean, they're winning by the hair of their chin. And honestly, I think the series going back to Ottawa is not a good thing. I mean, obviously, the schedule is set out, but it's not a good thing for Ottawa in the sense that they have not played as well at home as they have on the road. Boston played them pretty well at home. The Rangers should have won 2 games there. There will be pressure from the Ottawa crowd to not play this boring 1-3-1. I mean, it's perfect on the road. You frustrate the crowd. You frustrate the home team. And they did that last night, and you could see the frustration on the faces of the Penguins players on the bench. But the Penguins still won, and unless it's a complete war of attrition where there's like Frankie Corrado and Chad Ruedel as your top defensive pairing, I'm still confident that Pittsburgh is going to blow the Senators out.
I'm not going to say blow out, but I think they're figuring it out, Ek. The only thing that could stop them is if they lose Kessel, Malkin, or Crosby for any length. Now, we got to talk about the Phaneuf hit, because I was talking about it on Twitter, and the one thing I'm getting tired of hearing is, well, it's a legal hit. I don't want to talk about this legal hit.
Sorry, 1 second.
Okay.
I just think the league has to decide, is a headshot legal or illegal? If a headshot's illegal, whether you mean to do it or not, whether you can't stop yourself or not, it should at the very least be penalized. And the fact that he wasn't even penalized was crazy to me.
Well, I mean, the argument that the pro hitting, and that's the thing. I'm pro hitting. I want hitting in the game.
Pro hitting too, but
right. But it's gotten the minutia has gotten so thick right now that you hit somebody and you hit the mid body, upper body.
Yeah.
And because the head is attached to the upper body, when the impact of that hit snaps the person's head back, and then they hit the ice and the head hits. I mean, technically, was it a head hit? No, but there's going to be. I
felt like there was jaw contact on that more than even mid body.
Well, it was, okay, to play both sides here.
Yeah.
Rust was leaning forward, cutting across the middle. I mean, cutting across the middle is a in the playoff is a dangerous place, and he's leaning forward, and Phaneuf is. I mean, he followed through. I think he followed through with his right arm.
Yeah.
But without, that's understandable when you're laying a hit. But
right.
it was more the impact of when Rust hit the ice and then his head snapped. It didn't look like his head hit the ice when I watched the replay, but if I watched it a couple more times, it was after the impact on the ice that his head hit back on the ice.
And it did. And so my feeling is Phaneuf knew enough to not extend his arms or he'd get a penalty. So he kept it in and he just sort of plowed him. And my point is, you make a headshot illegal or you don't, or you at least make it a penalty or you don't. Yeah. It's that simple. If guys can manage to move out of the way and not cut each other at a split second with a skate blade, don't tell me Phaneuf couldn't get out of the way. Don't tell me he's too tall and Rust is too short. I'm really tired of hearing about this.
Yeah, I mean, Phaneuf didn't leave his skates, but Rust was leaning forward, and then as the natural follow-through of the check, as you see.
Mike, I disagree with that. I thought he did leave his skates a little bit.
Well, let's see it again.
Watch it here. He leaves.
Actually, he did leave it a little bit.
He left his skates after the hit. It wasn't like he projectiled himself. That's the thing. It's like Some things you can't prevent. When you're throwing a hit like that, your momentum may carry you off the ice. I mean,
that's fair, but you could prevent where you hit the guy, and he definitely could have hit him lower.
Yeah.
Sure. But Rush, I mean, okay, there are certain instances where I think the person who is the puck carrier or the hit has some responsibility. In the playoffs, are you telling me you don't expect to get hit cutting across the middle into the offense?
This is the, I mean, if those of you who lived in Philadelphia or Flyers fans know this is the Kevin Stevens, Eric Lindros hit perfectly. Like it's exactly the same play.
Yes.
I mean, the same exact spot in the ice, same thing, same crossover, same.
Yeah.
You know, and that was, that hit was ruled completely legal in the time. So.
Yeah, and so far it's completely legal now too. And I'm not even calling for a suspension. Yeah. I'm saying he needs to get a penalty there because that is a really dangerous hit. Now, are you telling me, and again, this is where I was having a Twitter argument, are you telling me that is the only way that Phaneuf could get the puck away from Rust is with that hit? Because
I mean, that hit was meant to separate the man from the puck and lay out some punishment, of course.
Absolutely.
And that's playoff hockey. There's going to be hitting. There's going to be borderline hits and borderline plays. And okay, if you base it on the result of what happened because Russ left the game, then Phaneuf should have been penalized. But I don't think he should be suspended because now
I don't think so either. But
right now the rules allow that to be. If you don't want any hitting in the game, then what is it, Rule 48? Then upgrade Rule 48 to make it impossible for somebody to lay a hit above the waist. I mean,
I'm just saying if you hit someone jaw or above,
yes,
that is considered a headshot. You're getting at least 2 minutes. Is that too much to expect, Dak?
No, sorry.
No, I agree. I do agree. I mean, I think that it's a disrespectful hit, in general.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten this. I mean, this is what Phaneuf's supposed to do in this series. This is his bottom line. He's got to be. This is the player he's got to be. It's fascinating to me, just as an aside, how the two players that were run out of Toronto on a rail, like Phaneuf and Kessel, really are such big factors in the conference final. Like, They were in Toronto and Toronto couldn't get arrested in Toronto and they were totally completely.
No, it wasn't that they couldn't get arrested in Toronto. It was the fact that the organization under Brian Burke and Dave Nonis gave Phil Kessel and Dion Phaneuf $8 million and $7 million when they weren't core players. Phil Kessel as a number one winger or as a core player is a disaster. As a complimentary scorer, he's great. And
as important as anybody on this Pittsburgh Penguins team.
Yeah, no, but I mean, he's
like, hey, we're joined by Peter Tessier.
Yeah, he's
good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hey, Peter. He's having an impact, and Phaneuf as well. Phaneuf is on the second pairing with Cody Ceci. When he plays 25 minutes a night on a number one pairing, he's exposed as a guy who he's not the fleetest of foot, but when he's playing against second lines, you can get away with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, without Kessel, they don't win the Stanley Cup last year, and I agree. Wouldn't win the Kessel. They wouldn't. They might not win it this year because he's really that important to them, which is kind of crazy.
But where did Kessel play? He played on the third line with Hagelin and Bonino last year. That
was arguably at times the second line, but yes, I do agree with you. I mean, they played so much. That line played so much hockey. Right. Their timing wise, they played as much as anybody. They had really 2 second lines last year on that team. So, you could say that. That wasn't a typical third line at all.
Now, Peter, let me ask you, because you saw Phaneuf in his Calgary days. In his Toronto days, he seemed to be very selective when he laid out a hit. Like he would hit rookies, like Brendan Gooley from the Sabres. He hit him in a preseason game and knocked him out. And he didn't play. Like they said he was going to make the team, and after the preseason game, he didn't. He got sent back to the Western Hockey League. And he was very selective when he was in Calgary. He was trying to be like the next Scott Stevens. He was trying to lay everybody out, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He was, remember that rookie year? He was a beast, and he was a Norris contender.
Yeah.
Right? And it's sort of funny, seeing him now, it's like, where is that game gone? Because that's what made him successful.
Starting to see it
now.
I think this is the first time we've seen it since then. This reminds me. Yeah. Like I said, that hit could not have been more Scott Stevens like. That was Scott Stevens to a T, right? So, yeah. It's a fascinating series, and it's really. I mean, they're saying the games are boring, but I'm really enjoying the fact that and what I talked about before, when I picked the Ottawa Senators to win this series, which everyone thought I was nuts for, and I still think I'm nuts for it. But I said, listen, I mean, everybody's picking the Penguins. I might as well look at the Senators at least. And when I looked at it, the reasons I found were simple: that the Penguins haven't played against a counterattack team in the playoffs over the last 2 years. They're hitting another counterattack team now. And you could see it last night. The Penguins in the middle of this, right at the end of the second period, there was a moment when the Penguins were swarming them, and they actually were stepping it up. They had gotten to the point where they were, okay, we have to attack them because they're going to sit back and wait. So the Penguins attacked them, and the Senators almost scored coming back. Like they picked up, because the thing is this: when you're a counterattack team, you can get away with not having the greatest defenseman in the world. But what's happening with the Penguins is, if the Penguins forwards take chances and one of those other defensemen takes a chance, and the Sens can counterattack them, they're counterattacking against a defenseman that they can own. That's what's happening. So you're looking at the Penguins defenseman not being good enough necessarily to handle the situation. So the counterattack is really, it is boring to a degree, but I think Boucher is, again, he's killing it, like, as far as the way he's coaching this team. I mean,
next game will tell. I think, like I said, I think the Penguins have figured something out now, and the amount of chances, look, just the shot that Kessel scored on, if they get a couple of those, Anderson's not going to be able to stop them.
Yeah, but how close did the Senators come, too? I mean, the Senators had
not as close as that. I don't think
at the end of the game, they had like 3 or 4 chances that could have easily gone in.
A couple.
And, they could have tied the game at any point. And that, to me, that I think it's still a toss-up. It depends what happens.
I'll ask Peter, because he doesn't have any skin in the game as far as when we originally picked the series. Peter, did you think at any point Ottawa was really going to win that game? I never did.
No. Just only if they got extremely lucky.
Right. A bouncing goal, a
luck.
dirty goal, something weird. Yeah.
Well, this is what is interesting for the Penguins, and it probably will help them in the next round, because the Penguins, if they get to the next round, which I still think deep down they're obviously the favorite to get to the next round. And they can, and if that's why I said the Senators had to win early. Like you said, Mike, if they win early, the series could change. But when the Penguins do figure out how to play against this team, that's the point at which the Senators are going to have to get lucky. But if they get to the next round, what the Penguins are learning right now will help them, because the next 2 teams are both also really good counterattack teams, they're better than the Senators. And these are, again, teams like the Sharks. They lucked out with last year because the Sharks are an attack team. So if they get to, but they have to play Anaheim or especially Nashville. Nashville will do everything Ottawa does, but way better than Ottawa.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So the Penguins are learning how to play that right now.
Well, I think Nashville has more firepower, but I honestly, so I mean that series is a completely different series. It has a completely different dynamic. Although, I mean, last night it started to get really rough in the in Pittsburgh, Ottawa, and in that series. I mean, and I didn't hear. I know that Justin Schultz left the game. I don't know if he came back, because I only saw highlights because I was up in Toronto
I don't think he came back. I don't remember.
So right now, right now has got to be a big concern for the Penguins is the fact that Daly is out.
Yeah.
Now he may come back for Game 3, but Schultz is out. And obviously, Letang is out for the year. So you're getting into Chad Burrito and Derek Pouliot territory, and if there's another guy who drops off, it's going to be this patron saint of Toronto, Frankie Corrado, who might.
Hey, David Warsofsky, I would use him before Corrado.
Right, but I'm just saying it's like it's really getting thin, and you can only take it so far. Where Pittsburgh, everybody says, well, Pittsburgh can succeed with an average defense. Well, you're not getting into average territory if you're playing those guys. You're getting below average, and that's when another team can take advantage.
Yeah, I agree. That's why the defense is going to get pounded. I mean, they're going to pound the defense like crazy. And then that's, not necessarily legal, but that's what's going to happen here, right? So
could we have a Tom Sestito sighting here, Russ?
We really could. We could, definitely.
They're staying away from that. So I'm going to say no at the moment. But
so far, but I think that game, if they're ever going to use him, they're going to use him in the next game, because he definitely and they're going to use him on the road, too.
Maybe Mike Sullivan will sit Tom Sestito in between Malkin and Kessel.
Right.
That's center. He's going to play him at center.
Man, Torres is really driving down. It's fun to watch.
I mean, if you're going to bring Sestito in to run around and act like a goon, aren't you actually hurting yourself more than doing anything?
I don't know. Chris Neal did it. They advanced.
Right.
Chris Neal actually can play a little bit of hockey.
For 2 minutes, he played for 2 minutes.
Chris Neal neutralized that difference maker Tanner Glass.
Yeah, you're gonna. I mean, I agree though. I mean, Neal's a better player.
He is.
I mean, and Neal's has a lot of experience. He's been around block, so he knows what he's doing.
I'm a better player, and I can barely skate.
All right, so let's talk about the Predators and Ducks tonight. Before we get into it, we're going to talk about Arizona, and then we're going to get to the rumor chart a little bit here today. Arizona is who they have to protect and stuff like that, so we're going to go to there. But let's go to tonight. And so Nashville comes home tonight against Anaheim, and this is, of course, I mean, this is usually games 3 and 5 to me are always the big games in the series. This is what you see. Like 3 dictates a lot of what happens next. So the Predators have not lost at home yet. They've been dominant in the playoffs at home. This building's going to be crazy. It's the first time that they've ever had a conference final game in Nashville. So it's going to be nuts. That pressure can not help a team sometimes. I mean, that's possible that pressure works against them because the Ducks come in there with not as much to lose really tonight as the Predators have. The Ducks win 1 game 2, and I think it was really interesting that I wasn't here yesterday to talk about it, but to me, the Predators really got caught, and they stopped playing. And they really shouldn't. Like after the net game, was up 2-0. The Predators got up 2-0 too easily in that game.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And then once they stopped playing, they couldn't bring the momentum back. Another thing about that game,
you know what? The grit and the experience of Anaheim definitely hurt Nashville's forwards. Look, Ryan Johansson, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
He can't divulge what he divulged because now he just gave Kessler more power for the next game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you're going to see, I mean, and Rene, had issues down the stretch for sure. But so did Gibson. I mean, Gibson was not good in that game either.
I think he was better down the stretch than Rene was, but you're right.
He started off bad. Ak, and then late in the game, I mean that scramble with about 5 minutes left to go in the third period, where he was down on the ice and flailing his legs. If the shot had gotten through, probably would have gone in, but it got stopped by a couple defenders, and he made one stop, and that in a way saved the game. So I mean, it was spotty, but Rene was spotty too.
Yeah, Rene's still not what Rene used to be. It's the same as Lundqvist. They're goalies now. We're used to like the old days where a goalie would really stay at a certain level. Like Patrick Roy stayed at a certain level probably for 15 years. You can no longer do that as an NHL goalie based on video review, based on video, and I mean for the club, not for like in the game. Yeah. Based on equipment, based on even fourth liners being able to snipe the way they are. Like it's a different world.
Oh, you're totally right. No, you're totally right. I agree with that completely. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect for tonight. I think Rene will be back. He's played so well. He has a tendency to bounce back pretty well after these games usually. Gibson's still giving up rebounds to me, even though he's a rebound machine right now at times. I mean, he had played really well in the third period of that game, but there have been times in this playoffs, and especially in this series.
Defense is setting up well around him, though. What I noticed is that when they've lost the puck possession, you see at least 3 defenders around him willing to block, clear the puck, whatever. And that's been a big key, I think, to last game and moving forward. I think it's a good strategy.
Well, I think the key in this series so far has been Anaheim's ability to, I think, rock the Nashville defense. I remember in game 1, I think it was Cogliano, and I don't think he did it on purpose, but he knocked Ryan Ellis heavy into the boards, and Ellis got up pretty slow and seemed a little bit slower than he normally would be for the rest of the game. They've been concentrating on doing things to Yossi. Ellis is not the biggest player in the world. I think they're trying to be physical with him. That plus up the middle. Right now, I mean, we know that the Kessler-Johansson, it's a pitched battle right now, but there is no matching up with Nashville with Ryan Getzlaf. And what Carlisle has been doing, especially when they get the lead in the third period, is he's putting out Kessler and Getzlaf or 2 of the 3 guys, either Getzlaf, Kessler, or Vermette, especially in defensive zone situations for faceoffs. And Nashville can't match up to that. So they have to get the lead. And they really have to hold on to it and make Anaheim open it up, because I think Anaheim, if they lead, they're playing right into their hands.
Yeah, I do agree. What are your thoughts, Pete?
Going back to Gibson,
yeah,
he's been shaky for 2 series now. Like I'm not sure that Carlisle's got 100% faith in him. His reads in front of the net have been absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
He's letting the puck sit there at times. He's not sure where to cover it. He's waiting. He's hesitating. He's not seeing things very well at all. And I think he's second guessing a lot of stuff going on. That being said, Russ, you're right. His defense setting up in front of him has done well. But, I mean, there were some times, in that one blowout against the Oilers, he was terrible. I mean, and just not seeing things properly. And I've heard that.
Goalie. I mean, that's the real reality of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a lot of pressure on him.
But they really don't have an option because, I mean, they've used Bernier in relief a couple times, but I don't think that they're going to sink or swim with Gibson.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely. They have to.
Yeah.
But
I thought there was a chance. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but then going over to the Nashville side of things, one of the interesting things, Ek, you brought up about Rene having these bounce back games. Well, actually, someone, and I can't recall who it was, I saw it yesterday. It actually looked at Rene's bounce back games, and they're not as good as you think they are. Mm-hmm. They actually show that rarely does he put up above 920 after he's been shelled.
I guess
he's more of a guy who goes
this year, but in the past, that's one of the things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the way he's been playing, though, that I don't think that means anything as much as, hey, this has happened in the past, but I think the guy will regroup. I mean, he's been playing lights out. And if there's the big belief, well, regression is here, he's not a 950 guy for the playoffs, well, that's fine. But I think he's going to regroup, particularly at home. They've been deadly at home. I mean, just like that crowd, just whatever you want to call it, home ice, however you want to phrase the intangibles around it, whatever is going on in Nashville, it's working. Bottle that up and sell it to every other arena.
Well, I think the one thing in Anaheim's favor is the fact that they played Nashville last year. They lost the first 2 games in Anaheim, and they went to Nashville and won 2 games in Nashville. So they're used to that electric atmosphere, and it'll be intimidating. It'll be loud, and if Nashville gets up, it'll be really tough for them. But they're an experienced team who has dealt with that. So I think that they won't be surprised by it.
Yeah, but I think the other big edge right now for Anaheim is how Carlisle does have 2 of the 3 big centers on the ice, and not big, and I don't mean big in size. I mean, at the end of a game, big in faceoffs. Just to have a guy like Vermette around, who is usually the shark of the league, if you look him up as far as being good on faceoffs, they've got him, Kessler, and Getzlaff to take faceoffs at the end of games. I'm telling you, Nashville has no complement to that. They used to have Gaustad, and Gaustad used to be a really good faceoff guy. Now they don't really have anybody. Johansson's probably their best faceoff guy.
Well, Fisher might be. I mean,
I was really surprised that they didn't have Fisher taking the faceoffs at the end of that game. That last game, because I agree because they had 3 faceoffs in the Anaheim zone, and Anaheim won all 3 very cleanly. And you're right, and the fact of the matter is, the big thing about that is you don't have to worry about icing the puck if you're Anaheim.
Right.
If you can do that, so if you can keep winning those faceoffs, you're okay. If you're going to lose the faceoffs, icing the puck becomes a whole different ball of wax. So that's where that's really helping them.
And I also feel like Nashville's secondary scoring has left them so far this series, and I think Anaheim's defense has taken that away. And I think that's something where Nashville needs to get that back. Because
that'll change with Peter Laviolette being able to do a little lineup.
Yeah, it probably will. I don't think we're going to see any Harry Zolnacek magic, though. I don't think that's going to happen.
No. You're not going to get that kind of crazy. I would call that 4th tertiary scoring or whatever you want to call it. Not really far back. Yeah, let's go to Arizona because we want to get to the rumor chart as well. So Arizona, yesterday you guys did Anaheim, and today we're going to do Arizona. We're going to do 1 team a day as far as this goes. There's a really great website out there that I like, and I know the guys who run it, and I've been using it this year as well. They might be working with HockeyBuzz in the near future too. They're really good guys. It's called planmyteam.com. I don't know if you guys have played around with it at all. It's really good, and it really helps you with this whole thing. So I'm going to kind of bring that up. And
I took part on one website to do this, but I don't know if it was that website.
It might have been that one. They have experts here that work on this one. They're really good guys, and we're talking together about doing something here because this I like what they've done. I know that they do it other places too, but I really like the way they have it set up. So I'm going to show you a little bit of this, and we'll get to this team here.
Well, while you're doing that, Eck, I'll just give you my, because I looked at it this morning in terms of the Coyotes, and the conclusion I come up with is the fact that they don't have enough players to protect. They have so many.
Yeah, they really don't. It's really not a hard thing to do.
Yeah, they have so many exempt players. Young guys like Domi.
Well, that's how this works. If you look on here, what I'm looking at, okay, the guys in pink are, they're exempt.
Right.
The ones with the others are hurt. So you got that, and then you've got they're on long-term injury reserve, and then the ones who are in gray have the no movement clause. They only have one of those.
Right.
They have Goligoski. He's the only guy that's a no movement clause. So you're right, Mike. This is really not a hard thing to do.
No, they might be a team that, out of necessity, goes 8 skaters and 1 because I don't think they have enough forwards to protect. I mean, Burmistrov is rumored to go to going back to the KHL. They may not qualify some guys like Peter Holland. Verbata is a UFA, so if they don't re-sign him, so right now it's like you have
right.
Well, here's my big beef: if they don't protect Anthony Duclair, shame on them.
Oh, they'll protect him as an asset.
They've got to do that.
I don't know. They didn't use them.
Well, when you look at this, the players they have actually signed for this year, right, Mike? They have to protect. They have one. I mean, these aren't UFAs. They have 1, 2, 3. They have 3 forwards.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and now
2017-18 that would be protectable. So you're looking at Brad Richardson. They'll protect him.
Yeah.
Actually, so they have the same amount of forwards as Las Vegas right now.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
The advantage.
Yeah, the same salary cap concern too.
Jamie McGinn, they'll protect him, right? I mean,
Tobias Reeder
Tobias Reeder is obviously the biggest one they would want to protect, I think.
And Duclair.
Right? So you got and Anthony Duclair. So that's 4 right there. So you still have 3 players you can protect here.
Right, but if you go 8 skaters, you can protect an extra defenseman, and if they if they want to protect somebody like Luke Shen or Connaughton, I mean. Yeah. Right now I don't see anybody who's being unprotected at forward that really hurts them to lose.
What this screams to me, guys, is that they are going to be one of these teams that trades with someone who has too many players to protect.
Bingo! That was exactly what I was going to say. They have room to add 3 forwards, and if there's a team out there that has too many forwards, then they're going to be the drop zone for maybe they get a draft pick. Or don't have to give up as much to get those players.
Well, they're going to obviously protect Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Goligoski they have to protect, and Connor Murphy.
For as long as Larson's still there.
Right.
Which I wrote about yesterday, Russ, because I think with the
they're not going to move them. You think
when are they going to renegotiate a deal with them? Sorry.
With the perpetual rebuild that's going on in Arizona and them trading guys who are expiring contracts, do you really think Oliver Ekman-Larsson in 2 years is going to re-sign there? I don't think so. Unless he gets overpaid and gets paid $8 million a year, or that team moves and they have ownership that is able to afford him. Why would he waste the remainder of the prime of his career after spending from age 18 to age 27 in Arizona? It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, are they really going to wait for 1 more year to sign him? I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah. Well, they can't sign him yet, right? Because they have to wait till July
of next year.
The crazy thing is like Arizona, the whole idea that they just keep constant rebuild. It's almost like they're in a holding pattern year after year to be bought.
Right.
Like that's really what it looks like, to be bought or moved.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know what? If Seattle could show up next year, I have no doubt in my mind Arizona would end up there, and they'd have almost a clean slate, and they could start being serious about it. It's crazy, but
we don't even hear Ekman-Larsson saying, "Oh yeah, next year we'll negotiate. I'm going to extend." You don't hear any talk.
Look at all this talent they have that's exempt.
That was
this offensive talent that's exempt. You could build a team with right here. I mean,
their core group right now is anywhere between 19 and 22 years old, and they're all exempt, which means they're 2 or 3 years if they keep those guys together from being potentially a good team. But the problem is that Ekman-Larsson's contract is up in 2 years, and is he going to wait? No, he's not going to wait. They're going to have to overpay him to get him to sign a long-term extension.
They're never let's put it this way. at the rate that they're spending now, they will never be able to afford all of them.
Right.
Well,
I mean, right now, I mean, what?
Wade Pronger comes off the cap. Who else do they like? They'll find a way.
Yeah, I mean, they're
And
not
not all of them are going to be.
No, but I'm talking about after their ELCs wear off, Peter. They're going to have to sign some real contracts with guys like Keller. They're not going to wait through bridge deals.
But they don't have any real contracts. Like, this would finally be signing them.
Yeah, they really don't. I mean, these contracts, they don't have anybody over $1 million down here in this group. And they're kind of great. So, I mean, look at all the players. I mean, they're all like, and they have a lot of $800,000 rookies. Like, for a team, like, most teams don't have this many $800,000 rookies. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 11, $8 million rookies.
Yeah, Datsuk's money drops off the cap. So does Pronger's. It doesn't mean anything because they're not going to spend that money.
Yeah, I heard Datsuk doesn't like it there. Is not going to resign.
Well, obviously, but I mean, those guys are crazy, right? So, I mean, Pronger is officially done now. Actually,
yeah, Pronger left. He wasn't happy there.
So right. I mean, Verbata wants to stay. He'll stay. They'll probably end up.
I don't know. Will he?
Yeah, he wants to stay.
For $1 million, he might get offered more than that this year. Who knows?
No, I don't think so. No one wanted him last year. I don't think.
No. They didn't want him because of the screwy contract that Chaika signed him to.
Yes, I think that's a good excuse for him. But at the same time, I've dealt with Radom Verbata rumors. I'm practically an expert at Radom Verbata rumors. I've talked to so many general managers about Radom Verbata over the year. I mean, every year, for how many years have I talked to people about Radom Verbata? And he really has a reputation of that he's only going to be good in Arizona. That's the only place he's going to play well. And that's really what people think of him. And that's the bottom line is and he only plays well there. Here's what I think could be interesting. Shane Doan here, okay? I'm hearing now, Shane Doan obviously didn't like what went down last year with Hansel. We all saw that. Mike Fisher's a UFA as well in Mike Fisher and Shane in Nashville. Mike Fisher and Shane Doan are extremely close. All right. The families are close. Everything about them is close. I could see Mike Fisher taking less and convincing Shane Doan to take less to go play in Nashville. I could see that happening. I could see that playing.
Shane Doan cannot play in a Laviolette system. That would be worse than Scott Hartnell playing.
No, I don't know about that because I mean, Shane Doan is smart enough. No, Shane Doan is smart enough to be able to pull that out. I mean, he's not
smart. He can't skate.
He's good enough. No, Laviolette has enough respect for Shane Doan that he would make that.
I have immense respect. I have immense respect for Shane Doan.
Shane Doan, but he can't skate.
He has had a fantastic NHL career.
He might but he also might. I could see a world. I mean, I've talked to you about this. I could see a world where he's convinced, like the Predators are, they're going to either win a Stanley Cup or they're going to get pretty darn close. He hasn't won a Stanley Cup. Mike Fisher's there, and Mike Fisher's going to take less money to stay there because he's not going anywhere. Unless
Shane Doan gets a leg transplant, I think his career is over with.
It's got to be done. He's going to turn into Reg Dunlop or something. Like, I mean, that's all.
Anything about
sing the anthem, unless he's going to replace the anthem singer, I don't understand this.
No. Did the interview you saw with Shane Doan last year after Hansel was traded give you any indication that Shane Doan thinks he's done?
He may not think he's done, but I've watched him. He can only play on the power play.
And that's all right. I mean, you've got a fourth-line player with tons of experience and tons of character coming into your lineup.
I honestly think that the only team, will another NHL team give Shane Doan a contract if he asks for a minimum $550,000 a year contract? Sure. I really think that the only team that will sign him for a year or more and give him anything close to what he's getting right now is the team that he's with right now.
No, I don't think he's going. I think we're looking at a $500,000 contract for him. I think we're looking at Shane Doan's at the point where he's made enough money. He just would like to have one chance to compete for a cup, and he's going to look at Fisher in Nashville, and they're going to say, "Let's try it." I think
David Boyle, don't do it.
He doesn't deserve one chance to compete for a cup. He's had a ton of years to take that chance. He's elected not to take that chance.
No, I get
Shane Doan is in a crap position because Shane Doan allowed himself to get there.
Right.
Period.
No, I think it was out of loyalty. Let's be fair, Peter. I think it was out of loyalty, and he did expect it to turn around, and he likes it there, and his family likes it there. I get those.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, me too.
But to him, it was about his kids, and I can respect that. So
yeah.
I just think that what happened last year, the frustration that he showed at the trade deadline when Hansel was traded was more the fact that this team has been a perpetual rebuild since they made the Final Four in 2012 because they played the Kings that year in the conference final, And they've never gotten better, and they've never spent the money. And the only thing that they've done is, trade away an Antoine Vermette and then re-sign him. And maybe they're going to do that with Hansel. They traded him away for a first and a second round pick, and maybe they re-sign him. But it's basically you're spinning your wheels and not doing anything. And for for this very small fan base in Arizona, that's got to be really frustrating because you want to watch a winner. And right now that team has got a lot of good young players, but there is not an emphasis on winning, and there's an emphasis on existing and surviving.
I think the Vinny LeCavier that you saw in the last year in Philly is what you would see out of Shane Doan in Nashville.
Right. Well, this could be.
Oh, that worked well.
Yeah.
Lord, he worked well in L.A. though.
Vinny dressed well. I have to admit, he was probably the best dressed guy in the press box.
They're totally different kinds of players. I don't know. I'm not convinced on that one, Russ. I'm not convinced because it's like Vinny is a superstar. Like he's a guy who scores 125 points or whatever in a year. Like in his mind, Shane Doan has always been a good, solid role player. Like that's what he's. That's what it is. I think that he can go in and be a real.
What's his role going to be?
His role is going to be as a leader for these young guys. To help them out and to play power play minutes on the fourth line and stuff like that. That's where I see him.
That's too much. I don't want a 40-year-old on the fourth line. I don't. That's Barry Melrose.
Who knows? I mean, the Predators do things very differently. And if Fisher comes to them with this idea and says, "Listen, I'm going to take 1.5 million this year. You're going to give him 500,000, and we're going to go from there." Fisher's $1 million discount to stay there because he obviously wants to stay there.
You could have an ATO for Vinny for Shane Doan. That's it. I'll give him an ATO.
For the long-term future of the Predators, I think they'd be better off if a guy like Hominev got in the lineup, or if Fiala can play after the serious leg injury. Give your youngsters a chance.
Way better.
They have good young players.
But I can see this happening. I'm saying I can see this. I don't disagree with you that it makes more sense that way sometimes, and just from a pure management of assets standpoint, that makes sense. But from a team's perspective,
I mean, if he's going to replace Cody McLeod, fine. Because Cody McLeod is.
That's.
I think he actually has a year left in his contract.
I actually want to say something. I think Cody McLeod is a good player. I think he is beyond what. I think he has a Tom Wilson type aspect to him that I could see him playing like a Wilson type role at some point in his career. He's got sneaky moves, Cody McLeod. He makes the other day made one of those come from behind the net type turnaround flip moves really quickly. That was really impressive for being such a goon. He scored that big goal in the last series.
Yeah.
He scored that big goal. Now the guy who's the most likely to be gone from this team and to be picked up, if it isn't something where somehow they don't pick up no one, Vegas picks up no one because of some kind of trade or something else that happens, or they end up picking up someone that they trade for. But the most likely, when I look at the team right now, the most likely, I think the most interesting player that could be available to pick up would be Timo Pulkkinen.
Yeah, I think Pulkkinen is a guy that would be a good pickup. I do. I think. Yeah,
but he got passed around a lot this year, Russ.
He did, but he still has a good shot, and you might as well give him a chance. You're gonna need goals.
He is a sniper. He is like the Finnish poor man's Joffrey Lupul.
They will need somebody to score.
Jeez.
That's what we're gonna call him. He's the Finnish poor man's Joffrey Lupul. That's really what he is.
Yeah, the Finnish poor man's Joffrey Lupul without the injuries.
Right.
I do think, Eck, before I know we may have still a little time. I don't want to bring us down, but we have to acknowledge that Marcel Pelletier passed away. He was the Flyers player personnel director. Winning Stanley Cups. We used to see him pretty regularly in the press box, even up to this past year. He's 89 years old. Just want to let everybody know that our hearts go out to his family and friends and all that.
He's a really funny guy too.
We've all talked to him, like all of us. And Phil.
Oh yeah. So I promised some rumor chart stuff, so we're gonna do that now.
Okay.
And, the rumor chart launched today. I could have launched 120 players on there. I went with 80, and then begged my readers to help me because I've run out of RAM. I'm just doing my best here to keep track of 80 players. I mean, this is always the tough one, but the trade deadline now is officially the draft to me. The actual trade deadline is easier than the draft. Throw on the UFA day on top of that. That's harder. That's hard. And then throw an expansion draft with all these other trades into it. I have really been working overtime to get this ready.
Can I throw one out in honor of Peter, just because we always talk about it when Peter's on the show, because our good old buddy Jacob Trouba,
he's on here.
He's on the list.
Oh yeah, he better.
And we have basically 45% or half the amount, nearly half of him staying in Winnipeg, and 35% is a team with a blue and white emblem.
Yep.
That I think I recognize. I think it's the Toronto Maple Leafs, if I can read.
Right.
Look, I think Trouba would be the perfect piece for the Maple Leafs. I mean, there's no question. And under Babcock and what Babcock brings to the game, I think there's just a whole world of joy waiting Maple Leafs fans there. Yeah. But there's nothing coming back from the Maple Leafs that Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to bite on. And it's going to take gross overpayment to get him to bite on something.
Right. Well, here's the thing, and this is where, and I don't know if they're on the list deck, but the other day at Breakdown Day, Elaine Vigneault for the Rangers gave a sort of veiled prediction or whatever that they're going to get a young defenseman in their decor. And I'm thinking, well, who's young defensemen that are out there? There's Victor Antipin in Russia. There's Jacob Trouba in Winnipeg. There's
Will Butcher
on the free agent market. And maybe there's one other guy that might get traded that we're not thinking. But there's not a lot of young D-men. Shattenkirk does not qualify as a young D-man. So Jacob Trouba, at least if you're going to trade for Jacob Trouba, you might get Brady Shea in return. I mean, that's a heck of a guy to get in return.
That is the rumor I have heard.
Yeah.
And I think it's a rumor of piecing logical things together. And if Kevin Cheveldayoff stays to his thing, this is the kind of thing that makes sense. Rangers are going to have to throw something else in.
Yeah, they'll throw in another prospect.
Yeah, they'll throw something else in. But that's the kind of deal that's going to have to happen. I mean, and I don't really I have no vested interest in where Trouba goes or ends up. It doesn't matter. For the team, it's got to be the right thing coming back. Right. If it was the Leafs, albeit, but they don't have that asset to send back.
Well, it's a right-handed
no indication of Chevy's change. What's that?
Well, they do. I mean, if the opinion of Cheveldayoff regarding Jake Gardiner is I know, Russ, I know, but hey, he had a career year, and he had over 40 points this year.
You're trying to sell a Volkswagen to a guy who likes Mercedes-Benz, though. I mean,
you know my opinion of Jake Gardiner. I'm just telling you. I'm just saying my opinion is not the same as some other NHL general managers. I think Jake Gardiner is a limited guy, but you have to come to the reality here that Trouba, after his bridge deal expires, he's probably going to hold out again if he's in Winnipeg. So you've got Gardiner. I mean, it would be a Gardiner plus. It would be probably Gardiner and a first round pick, or Gardiner and a good prospect, but like a Kasperi Kapanen or somebody of that nature. But I think that's plausible. But yeah, I mean,
if I'm going Jake Gardiner or Brady Shea, who I have more control over. Come on.
I would take Brady Shea over Jake Gardiner. I'm just saying, I don't know whether the Rangers are going to offer Brady Shea unless Elaine Vigneault has so poisoned Jeff Gordon's brain that he thinks that Brady Shea is not a good defenseman, because he is.
Well, he is. I think the fact that he didn't use him late in games doesn't bode well for next year. And I also think that they could make the argument that, hey, Trouba helps them with their top four core that they like to have, where they haven't welcomed Brady Shea into that yet.
Right. Now, Eck, who did you want to bring up on the?
All right, let me throw this rumor out to you. This is not a rumor. This is just like a couple names I heard mentioned with them. Why I have Trouba there going to Toronto, okay? Because I was going through my notes here. I heard that, now I know really Winnipeg, we all know they should be getting a defenseman back. That's what they need to get for Trouba, because they're giving up a defenseman, right? And that makes sense.
Yes.
So this is not, the best defenseman in the world, but it was a combination of the two were kind of interesting, and that was Kasperi Kapanen and Stuart Percy. Now, Percy is a pretty good young defenseman.
No, Percy is gone. He's in Pittsburgh.
He's in Pittsburgh, right? Okay, so that makes no sense then at all. So that person I can't talk.
No, I mean, it may have been one of their
okay, that might have been from my notes from last year. So
yeah, no, it may have been a top prospect like Travis Dermott or Andrew Nielsen, but not. No, Stuart Percy's in Pittsburgh. He's a former first round pick, but no, he's not on the radar anymore.
All right, but Kasperi Kapanen's still on the radar.
Yeah, and Kapanen would make a lot of sense as part of a deal a deal to Winnipeg, because you've got the Line A, former teammates from the Finnish Olympic team, or Finnish World Junior team. I mean, that's why, and I know that there's been some speculation regarding Edmonton as well and Puljujarvi being part of a Trouba deal. And that, you know what, that might be even more likely now after we found out the news today that Sekera is out for 9 months with an ACL tear. The Edmonton Oilers are back in the market for a defenseman.
Well, yeah, Puljujarvi and putting, would you want that? Peter, you want to bring those two together?
No.
Nope. Got it.
Nope.
All right, let's get to some of the other.
You know what? The Jets have all the pieces they need on forward. They
do. They don't really need offense.
They don't. Yeah, but they've got Roslovic and Kyle Connor itching to get in.
They do.
You know.
Yeah, but you can move those guys to get defense. You know, like you could actually. I mean, if you can get Puljujarvi, I mean, you're talking about what could be a killer combination.
They won't move Roslovic or Connor. They really won't.
But this is the
no,
problem.
They won't. I agree with Russ. They're not going to. They don't need to.
But this is the problem, Peter. The only teams that are. I got a bad echo here.
No, crazy echo. Sorry about that. All right.
I'm good.
You're okay. So must.
Now.
Let's mute you for a second. Everybody speak. All right.
Hi.
Mike.
Yep.
Okay, so you and I are okay.
Yep.
All right. So maybe Russ, unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay, Russ is okay. So Peter. Yeah. You can't hear the echo. Actually.
Yeah, it's Peter.
Restart. Come back, Peter. Sorry. Return back volume. Anyway, there you go. Thank you.
Well, that was unfair the way that went down.
The thing with Winnipeg.
I make an argument there because that was not fair.
The thing with Winnipeg is the fact that teams that are trading for Trouba don't have a defenseman like Trouba. So you can't expect them to okay, the Leafs have Morgan Riley. They're not going to trade Morgan Riley for Jacob Trouba because what's the point?
Well, no, but the idea is I get what they're trying to do. It's not that you're giving someone of equal value to Trouba. It's just that you're giving them a defenseman they can have control of for 3 or 4 years, and that's what they're looking for. He doesn't have to be the exact same duplicate of Trouba, but he has to be something close.
Now a team like Boston, who they could trade a McAvoy or they could trade a Brandon Carlo. They probably won't want to because they're cheap and young. But
they'll never trade McAvoy. Now Carlo, you never know.
Right. That would make sense. I mean, the Islanders, maybe a Pulak who may have fallen out of grace or something like that. Anaheim, but but those teams are already like it's Philadelphia. I mean, is Philadelphia going to trade Travis Sanheim for Jacob Trouba? I don't think so. Why? They have Travis Sanheim for 3 years for basically under $1 million.
I've said this till I'm blue in the face, and I'll say it again. I think there's the ingredients for something creative to happen this year because so many GMs have to do something creative. But it's going to take Chevy to be a little more amicable to something different than give me your top equivalent left-hand D for Jacob Trouba. Like that's going to end its own. Like that's an end. There's no win in that. There's no trade in that thing unless it's how do you say it? Shea. Unless it's Shea. And that's that. Find another guy like him. Maybe it happens. But who would Philly trade for Trouba? Did they? And they've got all the defense in the world.
Pretty much everything.
No. Right? Like
you know why they wouldn't?
Oh, shoot, we got to pause you. It's crazy. Log out, log back in if you could. That'd be great.
Me?
Real quick.
You want me to log out or
No, just Peter.
Peter.
What I was going to say is I don't think Philly wants to do that because they're going to have enough contract problems and worrying about having to add to the Trouba one. Now, they do have quite a few people with Trouba's same agent, but I still don't think that's going to bode well salary cap-wise for them.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So it's funny. I'm looking at my notes here, and it's 5-13-16. I've got Percy and the captain, and I'm realizing, wait a second, it's 17 right now. Sorry about that, guys. 5-13-16. So this is a year ago. They were talking about Toronto and Winnipeg. That's how long this has been going on for Trouba. That's how long it's been interesting. It's been going on. That's very fascinating. Anyway, let's move on to the actual rumor chart right now. What we have.
Let's do a couple quick ones.
Do a couple quick ones here. I'm just going to show you guys the first 4 names today because this is the rumor chart launching day. We really appreciate you guys supporting the site and it's only like $20 a year. We think it's kind of worth it, but it really does. If nothing else, It helps us out a lot. So here's the first four we're going to go with today. And so we got JVR, Drouin, Oshie, and Duchesne. This is pretty much your I would call this your Mount Rushmore of players available right now. These are four solid forwards. And starting with JVR, obviously, you've talked a lot about JVR and whether or not Toronto's going to be able to bring him back, Mike.
Yeah.
Still have Toronto being the favorite, but at only 40%, there's a better chance that he's not back. So.
Yeah, I think that I really think that even though the Leafs signed a couple European free agents today, that then these guys are probably bottom pairing guy. You can't really depend on them to be impact players. For them to get a top four defenseman or somebody who could grow into being a top four defenseman, they're going to have to move JVR unless he agrees to an extension. That's a reasonable amount like Kadri and Riley took last year. And I'm not 100% sure they're on board with that either because they have so many wingers in their system right now. So the team on that list, I mean, I don't know a lot about, Colorado having interest in, I would think that would be like a Tyson Berry deal, maybe like that. Yeah. New Jersey doesn't have the defenseman unless you're talking a Severson. And why would they give up young defensemen when they don't have enough defensemen? The Islanders are loaded with blue liners, and so is Anaheim. So right now, two teams are at 10%. I would say the ones that would lead in the opportunity, because Van Riemsdyk would be a perfect winger for Tavares. Yeah,
he would. I think that's true. The Islanders have always shown like lukewarm interest towards him, though. So that could change, though, depending on what else they see out there.
Sure.
Yeah, you got to just wait and see what the market has.
I think the market's going to play into this a lot, right? Okay, Drouin is the next name on here, and this is a lot of people believe he is going to get traded, and these are the names that I've heard the most of. I think I really think Montreal is going to make the biggest push for him. They need that. They need him. They really need that kind of player. Whether or not he wants to go to Toronto or not, of course. So that's,
Peter, you gotta mute yourself.
Sorry, Peter. I don't know why. If you could log out completely and come back on, maybe. But anyway, yeah. So, but Nashville, obviously, and I don't know, between Nashville and
I think Colorado is the one that, I mean, it's the enticement of putting McKinnon and Drouin together makes a lot of sense. I don't know how anxious Steve Yzerman is going to be to trade Drouin inside his own division.
Right, but I think Tampa and Philly have a good relationship, and I think Philly has great interest in Drouin. I've always heard that.
Yep.
And they have the kind of assets Tampa could use, and Philly needs scoring. And I think this would solve a lot of things for them, and also would then let them be able to cut bait with guys like Scott Lawton and a few others. Yeah. And so I think Philly would make a big play.
They would make the most sense.
Philly makes a lot of sense, but the thing is, if you're Yzerman, you're going to want. I mean, obviously, Philly's not trading Provorov. They're probably not trading. They're probably not trading Gostisbehere. Although, based on the little fallout that
I don't know, they might. Gostisbehere is from Florida. They might trade him there.
A Gostisbehere for Drouin deal would make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're trading Gostisbehere yet, but it's possible. It's
possible. If they feel Sanheim's ready, I'm telling you, Sanheim's a better version of Gostisbehere.
I know Sanheim. Yeah, I mean, Sanheim could be involved in this deal as well, but that would be.
Try unmuting yourself, Peter. Maybe the echo's gone.
How's that?
Yeah, you're better. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
The thing about Philly that I always wonder, based on what I read about it, is how content are they with Hackstall? And if you're going to bring in Duran and get rid of a Gostisbehere, like, are you banking that what you're going to do with that change is going to work with Hackstall as coach? Is that an issue? Is what I'm getting at.
I don't think Hackstall has long-term viability there anymore. I'm not saying he's going to get fired in the first 2 weeks, but I don't think he has long-term. I think with the change in the ownership the way it is, I don't think he's safe very long if he doesn't have instant results anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that too. Then moving on to TJ Oshie. Before we get out of here, again, Oshie is going to be the most talked about free agent of the summer.
Yep.
As to where he ends up, this is where this could be the Tavares thing here. This could be. I think really I could see this happening where he goes to the Islanders. There's no question Vegas is going to try to make a play for him.
I'll make a prediction. Oshie is going to get more than $6 million per year.
Yeah, no, he will. He will, which is kind of crazy, but he will because of the market and and because there are so many teams. And I've heard St. Louis is interested again. That's kind of funny and interesting. I think for Blues fans will like that.
I mean, that's what Backus got last year. That's what Opozo got last year. That's what Franz. I think Franz Nielsen got that, or whoever signed with Vancouver. I can't.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's the funny thing. If we go back and analyze all those deals, so far none of them were worth it.
I know, but teams will still be stupid to spend that kind of money in free agency.
It's true. It's always been true, right?
What do the Islanders do to fit Oshie in? They don't have a lot of cap space.
Yeah, no, they don't have a lot of cap space. They'll have
they probably buy out Halak.
Yeah, they'll move
maybe Andrew Ladd. Andrew Ladd.
No. Yeah, that would be crazy if they bought Andrew Ladd. But
they're not buying out Andrew Ladd. He did well.
I know.
No,
I know. But I'm just saying. I mean,
remember, Peter. They've got. I mean, they can buy out Halak, and they've got over $4 million that they bury on long-term injury with Mikhail Grabovski's wonky head.
Oh, right.
So they have room. They have some room.
Yeah, that's right.
And then finally, with Matt, the Caps will try to get him back too. The Caps will make a play for him, but that's whether or not they can or not, or whether or not he wants to go there or not is all. There's a lot.
I think he will give the Caps the last word. Like he'll get a deal, and he'll go up to them and say, "Can you match this?" I think he will do that.
And the Caps will only be able to do that, if Alzner goes elsewhere and things like that. So it'll play into a lot of what happens there. Duchesne is the final one. Again, the Islanders, right? So here's like another possibility for Tavares. Like we've talked about, the Islanders are very much in play with all this stuff because of the disappointment they had, because they need. And again, like you said, maybe this is a Hamonic for Duchesne trade. This is like a situation where you see a player like that go, and I've heard that Colorado could use a defenseman like Hamonic.
Yeah, but based on Colorado's fiscal responsibility, should we say, I think they would be. And no, Hamonic's contract is less than $4 million a year, and he's a good defenseman. But I have a feeling they would probably want one of the younger defensemen, maybe a guy like Pulak.
They would.
Who could legitimately be. I don't know if he can be a top pairing guy, but he's got the shot that he could be a power play guy and somebody who could score, and they would benefit from that. So. Yeah, but Duchesne didn't do himself any help in terms of wanting to get out of town with that. I think he went, one goal in the last 20 games or something like that.
Yeah, that team was just awful. Here's
He's always been streaky and emotional. So I think there's
still had a really good year. I think if Joe Sakic does get moved out of his current position, Matt Duchesne goes nowhere. That's what I honestly think.
Yeah, I think Sakic's going to. I've been told he's going to move up into like the president's.
Because I don't think they could afford to move Duchesne yet without everybody sort of seeing what they have with some of their youngsters coming up and Rantanen having a bigger role. Like I just think there's no reason to push him out yet. Here's what my thinking would be. If I was going to them and saying we could trade Matt Duchesne for Hamonic, they're going to say, is this going to help us become a playoff team? And I'm going to be probably not.
Matt Duchesne for Jacob Trouba.
It would be more than Hamonic.
But even if it's more than Hamonic, let's say it's Hamonic and Casey Kazikas. Is that going to make them a playoff contender? Probably not.
No. I've also heard Matt Duchesne for Jonathan Durant, who I've heard that being thrown around, which is like, always fascinating.
Yeah, that's fine. They might do that.
The thing is that it's sort of like the opposite of Winnipeg. Every indication is that Tampa, if they trade Durant, they want a defenseman for him.
Yeah.
So
that's what they want. But there's other. That's their obvious goal, right? So, but there's the beginning of the rumor chart, guys. 80 players on there. Check it out. I'll be adding more, updating more as we go along. And thank you so much for supporting it. And thanks so much for supporting the HockeyBuzzcast. And we'll be back again tomorrow. We'll get into the next team tomorrow, which I guess would be
the Boston Bruins.
Boston Bruins. There we go. We'll talk about the Bruins tomorrow, and we're also going to have we're going to be joined tomorrow by Paul McCann, from the Nashville Predators, who will be there tonight. You'll be able to hear Paul doing all the goal scored by stuff that's him in the background, and
who will be
meant to play in
Sorry, who will be
playing the period, which is my favorite. You know, when he says there's 1 minute left to play in the period, and the whole room says, "Thank you, Paul." You'll listen for that. I don't know if you've ever been there. You hear it loudly, but
I didn't notice that. That's cool.
Yeah,
you'll hear it though when he says, "Last minute to play in the period," and they'll say, "Thank you, Paul." So that's Paul, who'll be with us tomorrow as well. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will talk to you then. Enjoy the game.